Hey, great morning, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to Set Your Day with Dr. J. 20 minutes of positivity to empower you to create a fantastic day, to create a fantastic week, month, year, and a fantastic decade. Today, we're going to be talking about setting goals that are way beyond you financially. That's what we're going to talk about. So what I want you to do as you're joining in, please comment down below and say hi. Hey, if you're watching by replay, hit hashtag replay. And here at Set Your Day for Dr. J, we always share, right? So make sure you hit the share button. And I want to remind all of you who follow us on a regular basis that we still are giving away my Financial Fast Track book. All you got to do is go to financialfasttrack.com and pick that up. So make sure you do that right away because, man, these things are moving fast. And I want to make sure that I'm able to sow into your life. We buy the book, Bonnie and I, and we just ask you to cover the shipping. That's it. That's it. So go on over there to financialfasttrack.com and sign up for that. Well, today I want to talk to you about your money. And as we look at the world today, we see that there's all kinds of uncertainties when we talk about money and the economy and what's going on. Inflation's at an all-time high. Gas has now just hit the highest it's ever been in the history of the world. And one of the things that I want you to know is that your future is going to become way more expensive than where you're at today. Oh yeah, the future is going to be more expensive. Listen, you got to realize, right, where the world is going. We are moving quite possibly in the next 10 to 20 years where we'll have flying cars, where flying cars will be a reality, right? And do you think those flying cars are going to be inexpensive? Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Everything in the future is going to become way more expensive even than what I believe economists are predicting right now. So what you got to realize is that you're way behind, that what you're making right now is simply not enough money. And of course, inflation has what? It has revealed the elephant in the room that's always been there. But until inflation hits and now you have a 7% increase of everything across the board, those people who've been living from paycheck to paycheck and just barely getting by, right? And I'm not dogging you for that, but that's the reality of 78% of people in the world. And so when you're at that stage and all of a sudden 7 to 8% increase in inflation, and I want you to consider this, and you need to realize it, right now, just to live a middle-class life, the majority of people are $2,000 short every year just to live a middle-class life. I mean, this is not extravagance. This is not outrageous. This is just saying, hey, I want a nice home. I want a nice car to drive that's safe. I want my kids to go to a good school. So I want to be in a good area that my kids can go to school. These expectations are not unrealistic. It's just expecting like the bare minimum, which is middle class, right? And most people are $2,000 to $4,000 short every year. And many people, because they don't have their eye on the money, we don't realize that we're short. So what happens? When we don't have money to pay for things like gas, like groceries, clothes, shampoo, toothpaste, whatever we're spending, right? We don't realize, but we just take the charge card, we put the charge card, and we charge it on the charge card. But then at the end of the year, we're $2,000 short. So what happens? We have another $2,000 on our charge card. That's year one. Then year two, another two. And year three, maybe 3 or 4. And all of a sudden, by year 5, you're looking at, wow, where did this $25,000 bill come from that I've accumulated? And you kick yourself and you beat yourself up. And you hear some of these guys, you idiot, debt is the worst thing you could ever happen in your life. And why don't you don't even have an emergency fund. Why don't you start saving $800 a month? It's like, save $800 a month so I can get wealthy. It's like, what do you, I'm $2,000 to $4,000 short every month. That's not a pliable solution. And that's why, people, they hear the same old stuff over and over and over again, but it's not helping anybody. It's not empowering anybody. That's why I wrote Financial Fast Track. So we can deal with the realities. And that's what I'm here to talk to you about, the things that you need to do. Right away. And today I'm going to talk about creating new financial targets. This is imperative for you. If the future is more expensive, way more expensive than what economists are saying, and trust me, it's going to be, that means you need to set some brand new targets so that you can thrive in your future, not just survive and barely get by and be dependent upon the government's little measly Social Security check. That's not God's plan for you. That's not God's will for you at all. So you got to set your course downstream. You got to make up your mind downstream where you're going to end up. And I was talking yesterday about this whole dynamic of setting some new goals for your future, right? And we talked about this mountain and how we got to set some bigger targets. And the first thing I want to tell you is this, is that you need to set a goal to at least become a millionaire. You got to set a goal at least for 1 million. Why? Not for the possessions or necessarily the money, but for the first thing is for who you'll have to become in order to become a millionaire, right? Because I was teaching yesterday that when we set targets, we have to set targets that are big enough that are life-changing targets. So if you're down here making $42,000 a year, you can make $42,000 a year. It's no brainer. You've already proved that you can make $42,000. But then as you start climbing the mountain, say, wait a minute, this is not enough. And that's what you're saying right now. It's like with inflation, you're like, wow, I don't have enough money. You start thinking, well, I think I can generate $50,000 a year. But you're going to have to do some work to get there. The natural mind starts saying, well, maybe I can work some overtime. Well, maybe, I can do some babysitting over here, do some extra things over here, make some extra money to where I can make an extra $8,000. But see, this is not motivating. This is what they call the grind. This is the grind. This is where, I got to grind this thing out. Whenever you're in the grind, it's like, it's energy draining to think I'm in a grind. But how can you get the energy that you need to change your life financially? You got to set bigger targets. And that's why up here, the main target is 1 million, that you'll become a millionaire. And your first target, if you're down here, should be say, hey, I want to break 6 figures. I want to make $100,000 a year. And then you set your next target. Once you hit that target, you set your next target at 1 million a year. Right? So this is where we begin to tap into our imagination. And this is where creating wealth all begins. It's the foundation. God gave you a superpower called an imagination, an image maker, the ability to look into your future and see the divine possibilities of not what is, not what you know, not what you think, but it's imagination to see the divine possibilities. Now, imagination, think about this. Imagination was given to you to take what seems to be impossible and make it possible. What seems to be improbable. There's probably no chance this person is ever going to become a millionaire, is ever going to make $100,000 a year, is ever going to make $1 million, is ever going to make 10 million. It's highly improbable. There is no way. Now, if people would have looked at me when I was 25 years old, I couldn't read, right? I didn't have a college education at that point. And if you'd have looked at me, you probably would have, if I would have told you, I'm going to be a millionaire, you'd probably said, you? You're working at White Castle's flipping hamburgers. Are you serious? You think you're going to do that? You'd have laughed, right? But what did I discover? I discovered that there is a way to turn the impossible into possibilities. There's a way to even though it's improbable because of my upbringing, because of the things that happened to me in my life, because of my geographical location, it's improbable. It's probably improbable. People would have said, no way, there's no possibility. You can't do that. But with my imagination, what is impossible and improbable becomes possible. And you begin to tell yourself, this is possible. And now you become a possibility thinker. What does a possibility thinker do? A possibility thinker is always believing that they can be more, do more, have more, and help more people. That's a possibility thinker. So when you are an impossibility thinker, you are down here on the bottom of the mountain where you're setting targets that you know you can hit. And I talked yesterday about the guy with the Buick. He said, hey, I want to get a new car. I'm like, what kind of car you got? He says, I have a Buick. I have a 4-year-old Buick. Bought it 4 years ago, but I need a new one. I'm like, great. Well, what kind of car do you want? He says, well, I want another Buick. I'm like, well, you already know you can get that. You've already done it before. It's like people right here, like, oh man, I'm tired of my job. I hate my job. I'm like, great. Well, what kind of job you want? Well, I want to get another job that I like better. Well, how much pay do you want? Well, you know, right now I'm making $42,000 a year. Okay, great. So I want another job making $42,000 a year. It's like, you got to set some big targets. You got to set some targets that are way beyond you. Targets that you say, man, if I'm making $42,000 or $50,000 a year, and I start making $100,000 a year, this is a game changer for me. This gets me out of just paying my bills week in, week out. This right here enables me to be able to take money and to store it and keep storing it so that I can start making some investments. So that I can buy land, so that I can buy property, so that I can buy a franchise business, so that I can get out of this terrible cycle that I'm in and bust free from it. But in order for me to save 10, 20, 30, 40% of my income, I cannot do it down here at 50,000. But if you're comfortable down here, and this is middle class. This is middle class. Comfort is the enemy to your potential. If I'm comfortable, if everything's okay, I'm not stretched at all. I'm just living comfortably down here, guess what's going to happen? You're going to eventually fade away out of middle class and into the poor category. But when you start using your imagination to see yourself at a higher level, to see yourself at the summit, at the top of the mountain, right? Your imagination causes you to stretch. Because once you start seeing it and you believe it and say, I can do this. With God's help, I can do this. I can achieve this. Many people want to wait till the how-to before they imagine it. But once you start imagining it, this area, this down here requires very little stretching. You set goals at what you know you can hit. It doesn't cause you to stretch. You stay at the bottom of the mountain. Start setting some that you think you can. You set a goal that, wow, hey, I think I can hit this. But it's not very far away from what you already know you can do. This isn't very motivating at all. But once you start setting really big goals, then you start saying, man, I've got to study. Man, I've got to learn about money. Man, I've got to find me a new financial vehicle to help me get to where I need to go. And that's where you're at. Now, in my Financial Fast Track book, I point out that one of the fastest growing industries today is the information market. That today, infopreneurs is what I call it. That you need to become an infopreneur, right? We're in the information age. People are looking for solutions to their problems like never before. People are looking for how-tos. People are looking for advice. People are needing coaches and consultants like never before. And the more problems that are in the world, the more demand. Every time there's a world crisis, what I do as a consultant and a coach, it increases. The demand is higher. Think about it, when everything's going great, people think they don't need a coach. They don't need help. They don't need an outside eye on things. And so this is the opportunity that we have. And so if you've ever thought of wanting to be a speaker, a coach, a writer, a consultant, this is an ideal time to what? To imagine that, wait a minute, there is another vehicle that I can get into. It's kind of like if I said to you, man, if you want to change your financial situation, you need to get into a new vehicle. So if right now you're driving a Chevy Bolt, right, that can max out at 90 miles per hour, you're driving that, and I say to you, I have another car, I said, over here is the new Corvette. You can go 180 miles per hour down the highway in this Corvette. But you're driving the Chevy Volt, and I say now, hey, it's possible for you. You need to imagine yourself going 180 miles an hour. But you look at me and you say, man, there's just no way. This car doesn't even have the capacity to be able to do that. It doesn't have the engine. It doesn't have the framework. Good. It's good. So what that means to you is that you need to get out of that vehicle. And some of you have jobs that you're trapped in and you feel squished. It's like you ever put a jacket on and it's like it doesn't fit you? That's why you're dissatisfied with your jobs, because you've outgrown those jobs. And you should be consulting other people. You should be coaching other people. You should be a thought leader. You should be training and develop training programs online and be making income that's way beyond where you're at. And there's no other field like the coaching and consulting industry to be able to do that if you have the right framework to be able to do it. Now you got to believe you can. And once you believe you can, God will show you the vehicle that you need. So you see the goal, you see it, then you determine, okay, I'm going to jump into this Corvette, man. I'm getting out of that Chevy Volt. Now I'm going to jump in the Corvette. Now from moving from your Chevy Volt to it takes time to get out of the car, walk around. So there's a time frame where now I got to, wait a minute, I can't just jump in this Vette, because when you see the new Corvettes, you'll see there's all kinds of buttons, there's all kinds of things. You've got to learn to drive a car that has 500 horsepower in it versus a car that, has 150 horsepower. There's a learning curve before you get in. And so in the same way, you have to learn about the new vehicle that you want to go. So you don't want to leave the Chevy Volt. You still need the Chevy Volt to get around, but you're not really ready for the Corvette yet. But you're saying in your mind, wait a minute, I'm getting out of this and I'm moving to this. I'm going to continue to drive this until I learn. I'm going to study the owner's manual, and I'm going to learn how to drive this Corvette. And then I'm going to bounce over into the and then when I'm ready and it's time, I'm going to bounce over into the Corvette. I'm going to do it smart, right? I'm not going to just bounce over here, then I don't know how to shift the gear and I crash it into to the side of the some tree or something, right? So that's the key. So coaching and consulting was Solomon's strategy and his secret to obtaining a lot of wealth. The Bible says that the kings of the earth came to him for consulting. Man, when I learned that back in my mother-in-law's house, that I was a speaker, great speaker, but I realized that real wealth is created when you become a consultant and a coach to your contemporaries. Now, many people think, well, because we're living in a day where people can just call themselves a coach. Oh, I'm a coach. We got pastors calling themselves a coach. I said, well, no, you're not a coach. You're a pastor. You pastor people. They say, oh no, I'm a coach. So, well, how many clients do you have? How much are you making over $100,000 a year and you're coaching? Oh, no, you're not coaching. You're inspiring people. You're a thought leader. You're inspiring people from your pulpit, but you're not really coaching. You don't have a coaching business where you're generating money. So if you're interested, hey, our doors are open right now for 83K Academy. Every quarter, I take 10 people and I mentor them on how to build a $1 million per year empire by being a consultant, coach, best-selling author, speaker. We teach you the whole thing. And all you got to do is bring the I can. See, what you need down here is a I can do this. So it frees your imagination to say, wait a minute, I can see myself doing this. So if you're interested, just post down below 83K. That's all you need to do. In the comments, go ahead, comment down below. Just put 83K. When you do that, my Fast Track robot will connect you to the application, and you just fill out a real short application, and Coach Sherry will be contacting you. She has a calendar online there for you, where she's basically going to give you a free coaching session to see if this is something you need to transition to. Now, I'm not saying that everybody needs this, right? This is not for everybody. Okay, well, here's a Corvette. Maybe you need to transition out of the Chevy Volt. Maybe you need to transition into, let's say, maybe you need to transition into, maybe you need to transition into a Cadillac, right? You go from a Chevy Volt to a Cadillac, and a Cadillac can go faster than a Chevy Volt. They have pretty powerful engines in them, but it's not Corvette yet. But basically, you got to find what financial vehicle you need to work on transitioning into, right? So we want to help you with that. That's what we're all about. We're all about economic empowerment and helping you. That's our first goal: to serve you, to help you, to add value to you. And so if you're searching, if you're looking for direction, you're saying like, what next for me financially? Like you've been needing to change for a long time, but you've been just living down here and you're not stretched anymore. You it's everything is mundane. And that's why it's because you're not living out of your imagination. You're living out of what you know you can do, maybe what you think you can do, but those don't stretch you. It's only when you're being stretched do you feel motivated. Do you feel like you're going somewhere? When you live by your imagination, of seeing your future is pulling you. See, back here, you need push. You need a kick in the behind when you're down in here, right? Because it's mundane, it's blah. But when you move up into the realm of the imagination, start living out of your imagination of what's possible and probable. If you live here and you get the right map. That's why I created 83K Academy, to give you the map to help you to get there. So if you just think, hey, if you're interested in all, you think, wow, I'm kind of interested in checking this out. You had thoughts of writing a book. You maybe are a teacher and you like to teach, if that's the case. Maybe people come to you and they ask you questions, and they come to you and they feel comfortable sharing their struggles, sharing things that they're going through. These are all signs that you could build a consulting business, a coaching business. You could write books. And if you're a person who you've been through a lot of pain, if you've been through a lot of pain, a lot of heartache, man, I'm telling you, that whole industry of healing broken people is huge. It's huge. And many of you went through a lot and you're not taking advantage of it. You're not leveraging. Life handed you a lemon, and what do you do with the lemon? You squeeze it, get lemonade out of it, but you don't stop there. You charge for the lemonade. And some of you, life has handed you that lemon and you turned it around, but now you're like, oh, here's free lemonade, but you're not saying, hey, wait a minute. I need to set up a system where I can start selling my lemonade and generating some money for me and my family and for my future. So 83K, just put 83K down below. We'll connect you up. And I'm so glad that you joined us for Set Your Day. We got to set some new targets. You got to set some new financial targets. And you got to, this situation in the world with inflation increasing, gas increasing, food increasing, this is a warning sign to you saying, man, you better start making some changes. If you think the future is going to be cheaper, you might be smoking some medical marijuana. Okay. Hey, thank you. Hit the share button, will you, up there? That's what we do. We Set Our Day with Dr. J. We don't come and just take everything for free. Hit the share. Good to see everybody. I see everybody on. Hello, everybody. I see you all. Thanks for joining. We'll see you tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. God bless.